A seismic shift is underway, one that could redefine Canada's role on the global energy stage and alter the country's economic trajectory for decades to come. Just north of the US border, a new vision is taking shape, one that challenges old assumptions about where Canadian oil should flow. On December 5, 2025, Canada announced a bold new direction for its oil industry, sending shockwaves through both domestic and international markets. For decades, Canadian oil flowed almost exclusively south to the United States, shaping North American energy markets and tying Canada's fortunes to its southern neighbor. Now, Canada is building a massive pipeline, not to the US, but to the Pacific, targeting Asia's booming economies where energy demand is surging and new opportunities await. This isn't just about a pipeline, it's about Canada seizing control of its economic future, diversifying its markets, and reducing its dependence on a single trading partner. Prime Minister Mark Carney's government is signaling it can't rely solely on its traditional ally, especially as global politics and energy needs shift rapidly. The world is changing, and so must Canada's trade strategy. By looking westward, Canada is positioning itself to tap into the world's fastest-growing markets and secure a more resilient economic future. The new pipeline, a partnership between Ottawa and Alberta, aims to send up to 1 million barrels a day to the west coast, bypassing the US entirely and opening a direct route to Asia. From there, massive tankers will carry Canadian crude across the Pacific, supplying energy-hungry Asian markets like China, India, and Japan, nations eager for reliable sources of oil. This move could reshape global energy flows, shift the balance of power in international oil markets, and redefine Canada's place in the world economy. But the plan is controversial, facing fierce opposition from environmental groups, indigenous communities, and concerned citizens, all raising urgent questions about the country's future, its values, and the true cost of progress. At the heart of this story lies an alliance that few would have predicted just a year ago. Ottawa and Alberta, long at odds, are now working together in a way that could reshape the country's energy future. In November 2025, Prime Minister Carney and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith stood side by side in Calgary to announce a landmark deal, one that resets their often fraught relationship and signals a new era of cooperation between the federal government and Alberta. For years, Ottawa and Alberta clashed bitterly over oil, gas, and climate policy. Heated debates in Parliament and protests on the streets became the norm, with each side accusing the other of putting jobs or the environment at risk. But now economic necessity has forced both sides to the table. The centerpiece of their agreement is a new pipeline to the Pacific, designed to bypass the American network and give Alberta direct access to Asian markets. Alberta has long argued that relying on the US keeps its oil undervalued and vulnerable to foreign politics. For the first time, Carney agrees, calling diversification not just an economic goal, but a matter of national security for all Canadians. But this deal is about more than just a pipeline. It's a sweeping pact that aims to balance economic growth with new, tougher environmental commitments from Alberta, something environmentalists have demanded for years. Ottawa is offering financial and regulatory support, while Alberta promises to implement stricter emissions rules and invest in cleaner technologies. The province is also pledging a major push for lower carbon oil, including investments in carbon capture and renewable energy, alongside traditional oil production. The announcement is being hailed as a political win for both leaders, a rare moment of unity in a divided country. But there's a catch. British Columbia, the pipeline's endpoint, was left out of the negotiations entirely. That exclusion has sparked outrage in BC, setting the stage for a major conflict that could threaten the entire project and reignite old regional tensions. The path to Asia, and Canada's energy future, runs through a province that isn't on board, making the next chapter of this story anything but certain. To understand why Canada is making such a dramatic pivot, you have to look south, toward its powerful neighbor and closest trading partner, the United States. For decades, Canada and the US have shared not just a border, but a deeply intertwined economic relationship. But that relationship is now under strain. US-Canada relations have soured, especially after President Trump's 10% tariff on Canadian goods in October 2025. The move shocked Canadian officials and businesses who had long relied on stable, cross-border trade. Suddenly the rules had changed, the tariffs hit hard, costing Canada billions and exposing its economic vulnerability. Factories slowed, workers worried about their jobs, and business owners scrambled to adapt to the new reality. Over 90% of Canadian oil exports go to the US, making Canada a captive seller forced to accept lower prices. This lopsided trade left Canada with little leverage when the US decided to play hardball. Carney sees this dependency as a threat. If the US cuts back, Alberta suffers. The livelihoods of thousands of Canadians are tied to decisions made in Washington, not Ottawa. The pipeline is Canada's escape route. It's more than just steel and oil, it's a lifeline to economic security and a chance to chart a new course. Even before the deal, Carney traveled to Asia, signaling Canada's intent to diversify. He met with business leaders, explored new partnerships, and laid the groundwork for a future less dependent on the US. The ASEAN summit in Malaysia marked the start of a new strategy: build ties with Asia's fastest-growing economies. Canada is betting big on the promise of Asian markets, where demand for energy is booming. The pipeline is the next step, connecting Canadian oil directly to China, India, and Japan. For the first time, Canada can sell its resources to the highest bidder, not just its neighbor. US pressure and Asian opportunity created the perfect storm for this bold move. The world is shifting, and Canada is determined not to be left behind. The plan is a gamble for independence and leverage. It's a high-stakes bet that could redefine Canada's place in the global economy. If successful, Canada gains new markets and bargaining power. It could mean more jobs, stronger growth, and a future where Canada calls more of the shots. If not, it remains at the mercy of its southern neighbor, still vulnerable to the next squeeze. The stakes have never been higher. The deal required major concessions from both Ottawa and Alberta. The federal government scrapped a planned emissions cap and dropped new clean electricity rules, reversing key Trudeau-era policies. Ottawa also pledged to amend the Oil Tanker Moratorium Act, clearing the way for tankers on BC's northern coast. In return, Alberta agreed to tougher carbon pricing for industry and to advance the Pathways Plus carbon capture project. The pipeline must be privately financed, with Indigenous groups offered co-ownership. But as of now, no private company has signed on to build it. The project's future remains uncertain. The pipeline announcement sparked immediate backlash. British Columbia's government condemned the plan, furious at being excluded from negotiations. Premier David Eby opposes lifting the tanker ban, a move essential for the pipeline's success. Coastal First Nations vowed to block the project, citing threats to their lands and marine ecosystems. Environmental groups argue the deal guts Canada's climate commitments for more oil exports. Legal battles and protests are inevitable. Opposition is fierce and united. Provincial, Indigenous, and environmental groups all stand in the way. The path to Asia is anything but clear. The pipeline deal triggered political turmoil in Ottawa. Environmentalist and cabinet minister Stephen Guilbeault resigned in protest, accusing the government of abandoning climate goals. His departure exposed deep rifts within the ruling party. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, usually pro-oil, dismissed the deal as empty. No company, no BC approval, no real plan. The government faces criticism from both environmentalists and the energy sector. Carney is caught in the middle, defending the pipeline as economic security. Political unity with Alberta has come at the cost of division in Ottawa. The project's fate is now a central issue in national politics. The battles in Parliament may be as tough as those on the ground. The new pipeline must be seen in the context of Canada's energy landscape. The only current route to the Pacific is the Trans Mountain Pipeline, expanded in 2023 but already nearing capacity. Alberta's oil output is rising, and without new pipelines, excess oil floods the U.S. market at a discount. The proposed pipeline would take a more direct northern route to Asia, with a capacity of up to 1 million barrels a day. The Carney-Smith deal also includes federal support for small nuclear plants and a stronger Alberta power grid. The vision is bigger than oil. It's about transforming Alberta into a diversified energy powerhouse. Nuclear and grid upgrades aim to attract new industries and decarbonize power. The pipeline is the flashpoint, but the strategy is much broader. Alberta's future may depend on this energy overhaul. The road ahead is fraught with obstacles. BC's government and coastal First Nations are determined to block the pipeline, making legal battles inevitable. Amending the tanker moratorium will be a political fight in Parliament and beyond. Financing is another hurdle. No private company has committed to the risky, expensive project. investors may balk at the political and environmental risks, especially as the world shifts away from fossil fuels. If built, the pipeline could transform Canada's global standing, reducing U.S. dependence and deepening ties with Asia, but failure would reinforce Canada's struggles to complete major projects and fuel Western alienation. The stakes are high economic independence or deepening division. Canada's energy future hangs in the balance. The coming years will reveal whether this gamble pays off. The nation's next chapter is being written, one pipeline at a time.